I bought 4 books for €3. Book number 1, Tolkien, The Hobbit. Book number 2, Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. This is a thicker book. Book number 3, Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. This is somewhat thick too. And this is Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, number 3, The Return of the King. So I could start reading, since I want an adult audience, not children. I won't read you The Hobbit. I will read Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings 1, The Fellowship of the Ring. The Lord of the Rings. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in the halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie, 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bind them all, and in the darkness bind them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. So, is this missing pages? No. Forward. This tale grew in the telling until it became a history of the Great War of the Ring and included many glimpses of the yet more ancient history that preceded it. It was begun soon after The Hobbit was written and before its publication in 1937, but I did not go on with this sequel, for I wished first to complete and set in order the mythology and legends of the elder days, which had then been taking shape for some years. I desired to do this for my own satisfaction, and I had little hope that other people would be interested in this work, especially since it was primarily linguistic in inspiration and was begun in order to provide the necessary background of history for Elvish tongues. When those whose advice and opinion I sought corrected little hope to no hope, I went back to the sequel, encouraged by requests from readers for more information concerning hobbits and their adventures. But the story was drawn irresistibly towards the older world and became an account, as it were, of its end and passing away before its beginning and middle had been told. The process had begun in the writing of The Hobbit, in which there were already some references to the older matter. Elrond, Gandalf, the High Elves and the Orcs, as well as glimpses that had arisen unbidden of things higher or deeper or darker than its surface. Durin, Moria, Gandalf, the Necromancer, the Ring. The discovery of the significance of these glimpses and of their relation to the ancient histories revealed the Third Age and its culmination in the War of the Ring. So I won't read it further. That was the foreword, and here is a prologue concerning hobbits. Not interested. Here is the part I am interested in. I have knowledge of this story. I have read it many times, mostly in Finnish, sometimes in English. Book 1, Chapter 1, A Long Expected Party. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 11th birthday, in the so 11th birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbiton. Bilbo was very rich and very peculiar, and had been the wonder of the Shire for 60 years, ever since his remarkable disappearance and unexpected return. The riches he had brought back from his travels had now become a local legend, and it was popularly believed that whatever the old folk might say, that the hill at Bag End was full of tunnels stuffed with treasure. And if that was not enough for fame, there was also his prolonged vigor to marvel at. Vigor to marvel at. Time wore on, but it seemed to have little effect on Mr. Baggins. At 90, he was much the same as at 50. At 99, they began to call him well preserved, but unchanged would have been nearer the mark. There were some that shook their heads and thought this was too much of a good thing. It seemed unfair that anyone should possess apparently purposeful youth as well as reputedly inexhaustible wealth. It will have to be paid for, they said. It isn't natural, and the trouble will come of it. But so far trouble had not come, and as Mr. Baggins was generous with his money, most people were willing to forgive him his oddities and his good fortune. He remained on visiting terms with his relatives, except of course the Sackville Bagginses, and he had many devoted admirers among the hobbits of poor and unimportant families. But he had no close friends until some of his younger cousins began to grow up. The eldest of these, and Bilbo's favorite, was young Frodo Baggins. When Bilbo was 99, he adopted Frodo as his heir and brought him to live at Bag End, and the hopes of the Sackville Bagginses were finally dashed. Bilbo and Frodo happened to have the same birthday, September 22nd. You had better come and live here, Frodo, my lad, said Bilbo one day, and then we can celebrate our birthday parties comfortably together. At that time Frodo was still in his tweens, as the hobbits called the irresponsible 20s between childhood and coming of age at 33. 12 more years passed. Each year the Bagginses had given very little combined 12 more years passed. Each year the Bagginses had given very lively combined birthday parties at Bag End, but now it was understood that something quite exceptional was being planned for that autumn. Bilbo was going to be 111, a rather curious number and a very respectable age for a hobbit. The old Took himself had only reached 130, and Frodo was going to be 33, an important number, the date of his coming of age. Tongues began to wag in Hobbiton and Bywater, and rumours of the coming event travelled all over the Shire. The history and character of Mr. Bilbo Baggins became once again the chief topic of conversation, and the older folk suddenly found their reminiscences in welcome demand. No one had a more attentive audience than old Ham Gamgee, commonly known as the Gaffer. He held forth at the Ivy Bush, a small inn on the Bywater Road, and he spoke with some authority, for he had tended the garden at Bag End for 40 years and had helped old Horloman in the same job before that. Now that he was himself growing old and stiff in the joints, The job was mainly carried on by his youngest son, Sam Gamgee. Both father and son were on way to friendly terms with Bilbo and Frodo. They lived on the hill itself in number 3 Bagshot Row, just below Bag End. A very nice, well-spoken, gentle hobbit is Mr. Bilbo, as I've always said, the gaffer declared, with perfect truth. For Bilbo was very polite to him, calling him Master Hamfast and consulting him constantly upon the growing of vegetables. In the matter of roots, especially potatoes, the gaffer was recognized as the leading authority by all in the neighborhood, including himself. This is a long book, but I might continue reading it someday. So this is the book. I bought the 4 books for €3 total. So it was less than €1 a book. 3 divided by 4. I think it is 75 cents a book. 75 times 4. I think it's 300 cents, €3. So 3 divided by 4 is €0.75. Okay, that's it. Have a nice afternoon and evening.